So I wanted to do the 7 months post exosomes check-in today. We are actually, I think, 5 days short of the end of August. By the way, if you hear some noise, I do have the windows open up here because it does get very hot. So there's some traffic noise outside and whatever else. But I know it is a little bit early, but I had some time today, and there's another reason that I wanted to film this today. Um, so there's going to be a little bit of overlap between this month and last month. If you remember, we ended the 6th month with a week of good energy. My energy was like even and, surprisingly good. I wasn't bouncing off the walls, but it was very even and consistent for about a week while I was simultaneously having loose stools, frequent urination, and weight loss. So I'm still, I lost about 2 pounds. I still haven't gained them back. I don't know if I'll gain them back. I don't really know what's going on. And so the question was, what what was that a result of stopping the IVIG? Um, or is this exosomes or what? So again, keep in mind that I've been off of IVIG. I stopped IVIG mid-April. I tried it again at the beginning of this month. It's not working out. So basically, I'm just off of IVIG probably for good at this point. So mid-April, May, June, July. So it's been, I think, 4 months that I've been off of IVIG pretty much completely. Um, but I did do that 1 week of IVIG, or that one dose of IVIG at the beginning of this month, and I think it kind of threw some things off. I had kind of weird PMS, that headache again, that really persistent headache that I hadn't had since the beginning of, like right after the exosomes treatment. So I do think the IVIG could have contributed to some of these weird symptoms. But at this point, we're at the end of August. There's basically no IVIG in my system. It was a small dose. Um, the residual effects of that IVIG have pretty much worn off. And there is an update on that. I believe it's in my exosomes playlist. I do talk about that single dose of IVIG that I did. I was trying to restart my IVIG, and unfortunately it did not work out. Still losing my hair. It's still falling out quite a bit, which is unfortunate because I had stopped losing it and was sort of replenishing it before I did the exosomes. And it's actually falling out right now as we speak. It's still falling out. So unfortunately, that's still happening. And I have had this sort of itchy head situation with that. So that week, that last week of July, I had that, 1 week of energy with all the other issues, my eczema's flaring up, and I did have one more flu-like episode. So I don't know if that was because I did the IVIG or just, I don't know if maybe it was just an overloaded thing for my system, but I did have one day of those flu-like symptoms where I just had to get into bed. And I've talked about that in my previous check-ins. It's happened maybe a handful of times since I did the exosomes. So I would say maybe on average once a month I have a flu-like episode where I need to lay down and get into bed. So my fogginess and my energy has varied quite a bit. After the IVIG ran out of my system, I mean, the IVIG really gave me all the headache, neck pain, fogginess, just muscle rigidity. For whatever reason, it's just interacting with the exosomes very poorly. And so it makes all of my symptoms even worse. But after I stopped that, I still had kind of like a kind of light to moderate fogginess for most of the month. Kind of feels almost like head pressure, more on one side of the head, more on my right side, which is my bad side. And of course, varying light sensitivity. I was struggling with increased light sensitivity and other issues for for a couple of weeks there. And again, I think that might be because I did that one dose of IVIG and it just didn't sit well. I've also in the last couple of weeks had a lot of thoracic activity. And when I say thoracic activity, as you know, I have a lot of stiffness and tightness in the thoracic muscles. And like this past week in particular, I've been seeing like more muscle twitching again, kind of like a loosening and then a tightening, or sometimes I'll feel like the muscle goes stiff and then it'll loosen, which for a while I hadn't been feeling a lot of activity. It had been more like a pattern where I would wake up in the morning, the muscles would feel okay. They would kind of be at like a baseline, and then at night it was worse. And it was just that same pattern. Okay during the day, worse at night. Okay during the day, worse at night. It does still feel like I'm coming back down to my baseline, which my baseline would be where I was at prior to the exosomes on the IVIG. I'm still not there, but it does feel like I'm coming back down to it. I'm able to sit comfortably or more or less comfortably without having too much tightness and pain. But I am still having the stiffness and the tightness. Last night I was actually pretty uncomfortable, so it does still seem to be worse at times. So I can't say, so I mean, technically there's no improvement. And again, I have not seen any improvement beyond where I was prior to the exosomes while I was on my IVIG. So I just want to be clear that, you know, if I speak positively of something, you know, that happened this month, it doesn't mean that it's improvement. It was just, I guess, something good or something, you know, not as bad as I've been feeling the last several months. So like I said, the varying fogginess and energy, like for example, today, my energy seems to have been pretty decent. Again, I'm not bouncing off the walls, but this whole week I was kind of like feeling blah. And then today I was like, oh, I feel pretty good. So, you know, I went out to the swap meet and it seemed like my energy was doing pretty decent. Now, a week ago, I woke up and literally from the waist down, my legs, it felt like I had gotten beaten up. And that was just very random and very weird. I was trying to think of maybe I had eaten something, you know, I had a couple pieces of dark chocolate, but I had a couple pieces of dark chocolate yesterday as well and today, and I'm not experiencing that same leg pain. And I do get leg pain from time to time, especially if I eat something that I'm not supposed to be eating, but this one was more intense. It wasn't severe. I wasn't, you know, I was still able to walk, but it was upon waking up in the morning. So I woke up with this leg pain and it actually hurt. I felt like it actually hurt more while I was laying down. And it was pretty moderate leg pain, and I would walk and it just felt kind of stiff to walk. And, you know, it was very unsettling because, like I said, I've had leg pain before, particularly with PMS. I will have leg pain, knee pain, and this was more than that. And I didn't really know what it was or why it was happening. So again, this treatment has been very, very unpredictable, and I feel almost like it's getting more unpredictable as time goes on. So some good things, my appetite has been better, although that fluctuates. I did make a video, it's probably going to be posted after this, on positives, good things that I've noticed with the exosomes. I don't want you to take it as I've improved, but I felt like I needed to at least point out some positives. Again, are they worth the money that I paid for this treatment? No, but I guess there are some good things. So one of those good things is that my appetite has been better. It really depends on the day. You know, it's been fluctuating, but I have been feeling hunger, and sometimes pretty intense hunger, and sometimes not even feeling full, which is good because usually it's like I would kind of feel bloated with not that much food. But again, it varies. It's kind of up and down. I'll have like a few days of consistent good appetite, and then suddenly it's like so. So I can't say that any of this is consistent improvement. Another thing that has been good, and this has actually been about 3 weeks, is that I've been sleeping through the night. I think last night was the first night in about 3 weeks where I struggled to fall asleep, but once I fell asleep, I slept consecutive hours, probably 6 or 7 consecutive hours. And I've been sleeping, I think, on average about 7 consecutive hours through the night. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, even though I have been urinating more. I still seem to be having that urinary frequency. I want to say that it might be tapering off, but I can't really say for sure. I think sometimes I'm just not drinking as much water. Like, for example, today because I was out and about. And so that might be why I'm not running to the bathroom as much. But the sleeping through the night thing, even though I have, urinary frequency, for whatever reason, I think that's a big deal. Because I don't know, it means I'm sleeping through the night, and that's something that hasn't happened in a really long time. And especially with PMS, and for whatever reason, this last period, I slept through the night, didn't have any insomnia. If you remember, last month I had horrible insomnia. I mean, to the point where I wasn't going to sleep if I didn't take something to knock me out. And the last 3 weeks, I think it's been about 3 weeks, because it was the week before my period, and then up until now, and that's been, I think, about 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks, and I've been sleeping through the night, and that's, let me tell you, I love it. I'm still waking up like at 7 in the morning, but again, if I'm falling asleep at 10 or 11, I'm getting 7 to 8 consecutive hours. I'm not waking up. I have had a couple days where I've woken up because like my throat is dry, and then I'll just go to the bathroom because it's like, okay, I should just go, that way I can get back to sleep. And that's the other good thing, is that I will fall back to sleep, which is also, not doesn't happen all the time. When I would wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes I would struggle to fall back to sleep. I would have to take some Benadryl, and that would knock me out. And even with Benadryl, sometimes it could take 2 to 3 hours to knock me out. So the hunger and the sleep are two good things. Again, I can't say that this is consistent long-term improvement until I see several consecutive months of this. I'm just saying that that's something good that I've noticed this specific month. I have a list down here, so that's why I'm looking down. Stools seem to be changing. I know that this is kind of TMI. I feel like they have been a little bit more loose or a little bit softer. But again, that could be because of the lack of IVIG. IVIG tends to dehydrate you, and so it can have a tendency to constipate or to cause harder stools. I've had less infections, but again, and you'll see this in the Exosomes Positives video, I haven't had, I'm not getting infected as easily, I think, as far as the SIBO, SIFO, and other types of infections go, but I'm also still on a strict diet, on a very low sugar diet, so there's also that. If I ever start incorporating other foods and more sugar into my diet, that's going to be the real test. But I haven't had to go to urgent care very frequently, to get antibiotics or something to help me out with monthly infections that I was having. And I was having infections monthly. I haven't had to take my caprylic acid in a while, which caprylic acid is used to kill, candida and SIBO, and to kind of help, your digestion. My toe, I may have mentioned this a while back. My toe was bleeding. First it was one side of the toe, then it became the other side of the toe, and it actually has stopped. I think it has stopped for a couple of months at this point, at least 1 month. So I'm suspecting that the toe bleeding was some type of infection, because it was more like pus. I know, once again, TMI, this is gross. But it was more like a pus type of situation, which leads me to believe that it was some type of infection. It wasn't painful. I had doctors telling me it might be an ingrown, but if it's not hurting you, just leave it. And I was like, this is not an ingrown. I have a feeling it was some kind of either a fungal infection, because my toenails are kind of weird looking. I know, gross. But you know, I think it might have been that. And since my body is so sensitive to, candida, any kind of bacterial thing, I was like, it's got to be something like that that's irritating that. And, because I'm seeing less of a recurrence of other infections, I have a feeling that that's goes along with everything, and it's probably some type of weird infection. Um, Here's the thing though. In the last week, I have had some bruising. Now, one of the bruises I know for a fact I hit myself on a piece of furniture. I actually scraped myself on a corner, a blunt corner of some furniture. So I know for a fact that that bruise was because of something where I hit myself. Now, the fact that I recall that and it turned into a very ugly bruise, and then I developed other bruises and other parts that I don't recall hitting myself on anything. I suspect that these other bruises are just happening. So right now I have one on my arm. So I have this one. By the way, I should have given you guys a warning because it can be kind of gross. So I have one here on my arm. I had another one on my calf, my left calf, and the one where I hit myself I had on my left thigh. And like I said, I know for a fact I hit myself on a piece of furniture. The one on my calf, my mom actually saw it and she said, "You have another bruise down on the same leg." She said, "Where could you have possibly have hit yourself on the back of your leg?" Now, if you are a chronically ill person, if you're familiar with Lyme disease or lupus or even diabetes, these one of the symptoms of these illnesses is random bruising, broken blood vessels, things like that. I have gotten random bruising before, sometimes very, very dark bruises on the backs of my legs. Typically, they're small. They're maybe like the size of a dime or a penny, but they are very dark. And they don't happen very frequently. I don't think I've had this random bruising in a really long time. This is weird. And like I said, the reason I don't believe I hit myself on anything is because of the way that the bruise looks. It looks almost like a stain. I don't know if I can get closer to the camera. And you can almost see the hair follicle. So it looks like it has lots of little dots on it. And usually when you hit yourself, it's sort of the shape of the impact. So like I said, the one on my thigh, I scraped myself against the corner, a blunt corner of the furniture, and so the bruise was long. It was kind of like oblong like that. And again, too, it was a really ugly bruise, and I was like, that bruise shouldn't have been that bad. Did it hurt? Yeah, but I was like, that bruise shouldn't have been that gross. So it does seem that I am bruising easily. But these bruises are really unsettling, and I've never had them this big, never had them on my arms. I have had them on the back of my legs. The one on the back of my calf was very similar to this one. It looked almost like a stain. I remember when this one happened. It was this past Wednesday. It was Wednesday night, and I went to touch my arm, and it kind of hurt a little bit, felt like tender, and I looked, and I saw this sort of like shadow on my arm. And then by the next day, it was worse. So that's why I don't believe I hit myself on anything, because I would have recalled the impact, especially for a bruise of this size. And I kind of saw it develop. And on Wednesday, I don't recall hitting myself on anything. I was lifting boxes, not heavy boxes, but, kind of like, we were replacing the medicine cabinet in my bathroom. And I did read somewhere that when you kind of exercise or overexert the muscles, it can cause this like blood vessel breakage under the skin. I wasn't doing that strenuous of anything to cause that. But it's just, it's really grossing me out. It really, every time I look at the bruise, it makes me feel faint. But the fact that this happened, first I saw it on my calf muscle. By the way, the other thing I want to point out is the one on my calf happened, I think, around my period or after my period, and this one appeared the day after I had blood drawn from my other arm. So I don't know if there is some kind of connection between blood loss and these bruises, because I think there might be. I think I read somewhere that there might be, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that. but at the end of the day, really, I'm pretty sure it's some other weird thing that that is a result of this exosomes situation. But like I said, the one on my arm, that's really unusual. It's never I've never gotten really a lot of bruises on my arms. I get bruises on my injection, like when I do my B12 injection on my butt and my thighs, and I know why I get bruises. It's because I don't let the B12 warm up. I never get bruising. You know, when I would do my IVIG, I would rarely get bruising on my abdomen, because you have to do it room temperature. So, like I said, to have this kind of a weird bruise on my arm and not remember the impact is really kind of weird. But yeah, that's what I have. I mean, you know, the weirdest thing this month has been the bruising, and that just recently happened, I think, in the last couple of weeks. But other than that, like I said, I haven't seen any type of improvement in my neurological symptoms. They're coming back down to baseline. I am just grateful that I'm not in a lot of pain, or in any, more bothersome type of pain like I was earlier this year. But as far as saying, I am doing so much better, I'm not. I'm still a bit worse than I was prior to the exosomes. So I'm hoping that at some point things improve. It's a little bit hot up here. I will be doing a follow up with my doctor at the beginning of September. So if she says anything, I'll come back on and do another video. And I also have blood work that I did. The blood work, she's not really ordering much blood work anymore. So I don't really know what I could tell you with the blood work, because it's literally just like one thing that she's checking. So yeah, that's what I've got for you guys. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, I'll see you.